What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update for you guys. And we had news over the weekend. It was on Friday about Fabio Paratici. And there was a club statement following up from the other club statement. And this one reads, this week, 29th of March, 2023, the FIFA Disciplinary Committee announced the decision to extend the Italian Football Federation sanctions relating to Fabio Paratici worldwide. This decision was taken in advance of Paratici's appeal hearing against the FIGC sanctions on the 19th of April 2023, the result of which would then have been considered by additional stakeholders, including the club. Given FIFA's unexpected ruling, the sanctions may now have multi-jurisdictional effect, although they are still related to the FIGC appeal. In view of FIFA's decision, Fabio has agreed with the club that he will take an immediate leave of absence pending the outcome of his appeal. David Ornstein was the first one to talk about this, actually, and he says Paratici met with the Tottenham squad today, which was on Friday, to explain his situation, and it has been decided in conjunction with the club that the managing director will take a step back from Tottenham. And Matt Law says that Paratici is still yet to decide whether or not he will launch a separate appeal against the FIFA decision to make his ban global. April the 19th appeal is in regard to the initial ban implemented by the Italian Football Federation. So, I mean, he's taking a step back, but we haven't sacked him yet.
No, it's a bit of a weird, a bit of a limbo, it seems. It's like we can't move forward until this appeal process is done, and I'm probably assuming that it will fail and that he will the ban will be upheld, but we can't really do anything until that happens. Well, the appeal process will be up not in the not too distant future anyway.
7 days now, isn't it?
Yeah, so if it's in 7 days, I guess that's a waiting period we'll just have to put up with. We're not going to do anything in the next 7 days from a managerial standpoint and in terms of appointing a new director of football anyway. So I guess it's the right thing to do. I think him stepping back is definitely the right thing to do. I think it would be better for our long term if he just made a permanent decision to resign, to be honest, and then we can move forward and draw a line under it. At the moment, it's like we're still going through the process, so he's taking a step back until the appeal process is done, and then after that's done, we'll have to see where we're at. Once it gets upheld, I'm assuming it will be a permanent stepping back of his duties because he won't be able to do his job. So I guess we'll have to wait another week just to confirm for sure that he'll be leaving permanently. But at the moment, it's still like a bit limbo. It's still a bit of uncertainty. But you would think that this only leads to one conclusion, which is Paratici permanently leaving the club, and then hopefully Spurs can just draw a line under it.
Even with stuff like this, Spurs have to drag out, and it has to be such a long-winded process, doesn't it? And I kind of understand why in this sense, but like, if I'm Fabio, like, even if the appeal is right, are Spurs going to still keep him on?
I think Tottenham are giving this every opportunity to get overturned.
Where does this loyalty come from?
Because they've done a lot of restructuring of the clubs based on Paratici and how he wants the football club to run from a footballing point of view. So all like the scouting department, all these different elements have been restructured according to his preferences. So if they get rid of him and then bring in a new director of football, they're going to have to completely tear that down and build it up in the vision of the new director of football, how he wants things to be done, what scouting department he wants, the analytics department, the data department, all these different things. It's going to be under a new director of football, which is going to have to happen anyway because Paratici is going to have to leave. So it is going to have to be done. But I'm assuming Tottenham don't want to sack him too early in case it does get overturned, and then we can keep with him. I would argue at this point of view, having Paratici at the club is hiding to nothing at this point with all these charges, and it's going to make Tottenham very difficult to deal with. And look, I guess if it gets all overturned, they could argue and go back to business as usual, even though the whole footballing world will be looking at us very strangely. But I think that Tottenham just don't want to give us every opportunity, I'm guessing, to make sure they don't have to undo all the work they've done structure-wise, footballing-wise, for the last 18 months. And I get that at some point, but then at another point you're thinking, like, there's no other option at this point. We're just going to have to bite the bullet.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I was reading an article, I can't remember who it was from, over the weekend, and they were saying there's a chance that potentially in 7 days, if the appeal isn't, goes the way that the club and Paratici want, then there is an option potentially to upgrade or give a rise to Greta Steinson, who's Paratici's kind of number 2 at the moment.
And the problem is as well, I didn't read that, but that would be interesting if we were just to appoint him internally. Maybe that would work in terms of, because he's been working under Paratici, but I don't know if TV's going to have the same vision. But one other thing to consider is, even if the appeal does get overturned, he's still under investigation for even more things. Yeah. So what happens if he gets overturned? He goes back to business as usual, and then he gets charged with something else, and then all of a sudden we're back to square one.
And also, what you're talking about, him being under investigation for more things. Like right now, these are just football sanctions, but there is actually criminal sanctions against him as well. So he's got to do this appeal against the football sanctions, and then the criminal sanctions are going to come.
So what's going to happen? So maybe what the solution will be is the football one gets overturned, but he goes down criminally, so he runs things from prison. He gets one phone call a day, and he can make it to a manager, or he has to pick it very carefully, which has to prioritise. Maybe that's the solution, but we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah. Let's move on and let's talk about that manager situation once again. Julian Nagelsmann, first up. Florian Plettenberg is saying that Tottenham is not an option for Julian Nagelsmann at this stage. Fabrizio Romano was talking last night after the Chelsea result, and he says there is nothing advanced between Tottenham and Nagelsmann. Chelsea are now discussing whether to keep Graham Potter internally, and they really appreciate Julian Nagelsmann. And it kind of makes sense, this one, like Nagelsmann to Chelsea, Potter to leave by the end of the season. I mean, can you really see Chelsea keeping Potter with the way things are going at the moment?
Yes, because I think he would have gone if they were intending to sack him. So I think they really. They've put so many eggs in his basket. The fact that they've lost another game yesterday, albeit I watched it yesterday, I thought they were unlucky to lose, but they did lose. They did lose. They're still in the Champions League. I think once they exit the Champions League, it becomes a very different conversation. But I think as long as they're in it, I can see them sticking with Potter for the time being. I do think they want to give him a project, but it's getting harder and harder to back the lower they slip down the table, albeit I can't see them slipping any lower than they are, because there's an 8-point gap between 11th and 12th, so I don't see them falling lower than that. But obviously, as Chelsea fans are very entitled. They've been used to trophies and what Chelsea fans are used to is, if a manager's doing badly, he gets sacked. That's what happens. So this whole give a manager time and let him see out this bad form and let him restructure the club and build in his way, that's very alien to Chelsea fans. They're not used to it whatsoever. So I can understand a lot of them clamouring to get him sacked, but I do think Bowley is going to stick by him for the time being, albeit if, let's say, they lose every game from now to the end of the season, I think that he'll probably go. But I think as long as they can have a semblance of good performances and turn around some results, and we'll see how they do in the Champions League, and then I do think they're going to keep him on for the time being. I do think they're going to try everything they can to get him into next season. But in terms of Chelsea, why would you go from Potter to Nagelsmann? Isn't that like another from one project manager? I know obviously they're two different managers, but like, it's very similar in terms of like Nagelsmann will probably want a project as well. Chelsea, you also want time, and I think if you're binning Potter, would they go straight to Nagelsmann, a younger manager is he gonna command even more respect than someone like Potter does? I don't know.
I think he would command more respect than Potter done, just because what he's done in his career. He's done very good jobs at two clubs, Hoffenheim and Leipzig. He's taken teams into Europe before. He was at Bayern and it didn't work out the way maybe the Bayern hierarchy wanted, but it's not like he did a terrible job there. It's not like he's doing what Potter has done at Chelsea so far. It's been I know it's a completely different kettle of fish, because Bayern kind of a ready-made club, where Chelsea were kind of like at the beginning of a process. Yeah, it's very different. But the fact of the matter is, I think Nagelsmann is a better manager than Potter. I think he's proved over his time at the various clubs that he's a better manager than Potter, albeit Potter hasn't had maybe the chances that Nagelsmann has had. But I can see them going for either Nagelsmann or Luis Enrique. I think Luis Enrique actually might be a bit of a better fit for Chelsea. But I can see them sacking Potter and going for Nagelsmann. I really can.
I think they go for, if they're going to sack Potter, I think they go for a more established manager.
Back to Conte.
Maybe. Yeah, no, I don't think back to Conte. I think he's going back to Italy for sure. But I think they go for someone like an Enrique or something. Maybe Pochettino. Maybe he would be a better fit for Chelsea than someone like Nagelsmann. For some reason, I just feel like with Nagelsmann being 35 and him being so young, is he the person to lead this Chelsea product just after you've had a failed project in Graham Potter? I've got a feeling they wouldn't go for Nagelsmann, but they might do.
I think he will, because the kind of player that Chelsea have right now is like young, up and coming, and I think it's perfect for a project manager.
So why hasn't it worked with Potter?
I mean, just because it's perfect project manager doesn't mean it has to work with every single project manager. It needs the right project manager to come in. Maybe Potter's not the right man.
Yeah, maybe, but I just feel like they. Yeah, maybe you're right. Well, it depends how they look at things. I just think bringing an even younger manager than Potter, who has potentially less experience. I know more experience at the top level, but potentially less experience overall as a manager. I don't know if they're going to go in that direction, but they might well do. We'll have to wait and see. I do think, though, they're going to give Potter every opportunity, so I don't think they're going to sack him straight away. They might sack him at the end of the season. When it comes to Nagelsmann not being an option for Tottenham, I completely understand that, because he's looking at Tottenham right now. I think he's going to assess. He's probably taking a break. He's going to assess things in the summer. As you say, PSG might be available, Madrid, Chelsea, all these jobs might be available. So he's going to have to see who wants him and what the best fit for him is. And he looks at Tottenham now, no director of football at the club as well. Like that uncertainty is sure to put him off for the time being while Tottenham are in that disarray. Obviously, we're still at 10 games left of the season. He doesn't want to be the one. He doesn't want to be the one to take Tottenham from being in the top four to outside the top four with only 10 games as well. Why would you want that on your CV with at the moment? So I understand that Nagelsmann is not going to be jumping at the chance to join Tottenham right now. Who would? Because of the uncertainty. Not to say that in the summer it could be a different kettle of fish, but right now, why would he? I don't see any reason for him to jump at the chance to join Tottenham.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely spot on there about Nagelsmann. But let's move on to Pochettino. And TYC Sport claim that Mauricio Pochettino has rejected an offer from Tottenham a few days ago, and he's waiting for his place at Real Madrid, where he's number one target. So the press say at the moment.
As Richarlison says, shame on you, TYC Sports, for lying. You lied.
Exactly.
You're lying again.
Exactly.
He would never reject us.
I was about to say that, because like TYC Sport were clearly making up stories last week on Richarlison leading a mutiny against Antonio Conte at Tottenham Hotspur. So it's hard to take this one at face value. So I guess take it with a pinch of salt, but that's what they're reporting at the moment. Yeah,
I don't think that's true, because I don't think we would have offered Pochettino the job. I think as of last week, I think that the club has a lot of reservations about bringing him back right now. I think, look, maybe we did offer him the job, but I just got a feeling that it's not true. I think Nagelsmann is clearly our number one, and I think we're willing to wait for him. So I can't see us offering Pochettino the job with a view of that, unless we've gotten a straight no from Nagelsmann. I don't see that being the case. So I find this hard to believe that he's rejected us.
But the way these stories are coming about, it does have a bit of a sense of that last manager search, 72, 75 days. And would you be surprised if it goes on that long again?
I'd like to say I would be, but I wouldn't be, because right now the hierarchy is just a bit of a shit show right now. They've got so many fires to put out that every manager, until we're settled in terms of like our vision, director of football, Harry Kane, all these different things, until we're settled as a football club, how can any manager in their right mind commit to a long-term project here? How can it happen? Yeah. So I think the longer this goes on, I expect more rejections and more waiting. So I can see it going on that long, to be honest. But look, we can
break our own record.
We can get our act together. Hopefully we do it sooner rather than later. But as of right now, we're a mess. No doubt about it. We're an absolute mess.
And last but not least, a potential player transfer in Aymeric Laporte. Graham Bailey of 90 Minute is claiming that Tottenham have been offered the chance to sign Man City defender Aymeric Laporte in the summer. I've been on record many a time to say I think he'd be if we're going to be in a back three next season, even in a back four, I think he'd be absolutely class for us. So I think he would be an absolutely astonishing signing for us. Imagine him and Romero in a back four.
He'll be brilliant. I love Laporte. I think he's been absolutely superb for City. I find it hard to believe that for one reason or another he can't get in the team at the moment. I remember when City first signed him, and I remember they were struggling at the time. They were struggling a bit. I think Otamendi was lacking form and stuff like that. And then he comes in and completely upgraded their back four, and they went on to win the league at a canter. And a lot of it was down to him. And then he got a big injury in his third season, and their defense fell to pieces. And a lot of people were saying it's because of that injury as to why it happened. All of a sudden they seem to be okay without him. But I think he's a superb defender. I think he's brilliant when it comes to his playing out the back. His composure on the ball is fantastic. I think he's strong. He's really good positionally. I don't think he's blessed with he's not the quickest defender, but I don't think he needs to be. He makes up for it in other aspects, and I think he's absolutely phenomenal. And I just think it's one of those where if Man City lose him, he could have a similar path to. I don't think it's because he's not good enough or anything like that. I think it's similar to Jesus and Zinchenko, where he can go and be a very big cog in another team, a very big cog in another successful team. And I hope it will be us. But I wouldn't be surprised if even bigger clubs than us are after him if he's available. So I would expect if he becomes available that there are other bigger clubs in Europe and Tottenham that'll be looking at him. But if they're not, I'd be delighted to have him at Tottenham.
Do you feel like he's been a bit disrespected at Man City? Because when you look at it, this season, only 7 appearances in the Premier League this year. Players that have come in like Ake and Akanji seem ahead of him. And I don't really see a reason why for it. I know Ake has had a really good season this year. I've been really impressed with what he's done. And Akanji as well. I've been really impressed with him since he's come in. But Laporte's been there for so many years now. And he just seems to be going further and further down the pecking order. Yeah,
the only reason I can think of is that clearly when you look at the profile of Akanji and Ake, clearly it seems that Pep wants a more physical, pacey backline than maybe he's had previously, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's due to the fact that they don't have Sterling and Sane anymore, so they can't play deeper. They don't want to play deeper. They need to play as high as possible to have for the likes of Grealish and Mahrez to get in advanced positions, and to do that they need pacier defenders to make sure that they're not being exposed on the way back. And Laporte, as I've said, he's not the most physical defenders. That's not where his strength lies, albeit I'm not saying he's weak. I'm not saying when you talk about above average, he's still an above average physical defender, but when you talk about Akanji and Ake, these are in the top level, in the Premier League in terms of physicality for defenders. They're some of the strongest and paciest defenders there are. So I think from a technical standpoint, I think Laporte is probably better than Akanji and Ake from a technical off on the ball, and I think positional standpoint, I think he's better. But when it comes to the physical attributes, I think Akanji and Ake are on another level to him. So maybe that's why Pep has favoured them, because he doesn't have the pace of Sane and Sterling anymore, and that's the reason. But I do think that if you're Laporte, you're going to be absolutely furious with the level of playing time he's getting, and he's for sure going to want to move, because a defender of his quality shouldn't be having that amount. But if I'm someone like Barcelona, they should be jumping at the chance to have someone like Laporte in their team.
If they can afford him.
Yeah, you never know with them. They'll unlock another lever.
That's why Spurs might be best placed, because when you're looking at teams that can actually afford him throughout Europe, there might not be many suitors. Maybe you're looking at a Bayern Munich under Thomas Tuchel. You might be looking at, they're the only ones that I can see that really have the need for him that can afford him.
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Well,
are
they've
one.
signed enough centre backs, haven't they?
They have signed enough centre backs, but how many of them? Like Koulibaly on his way out. Thiago Silva's 37.
I actually think Koulibaly's improving. I reckon I think I started to like him recently.
You reckon?
Yeah, he's starting to get better. Bad Chile, obviously.
Yeah, but even if he's starting to get better, he's still like aging. You know what I mean? So they need to look at that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he's only been there a year.
I know, but how old is he?
Well, 30.
I thought he's old. I thought he was in like 32 or 33.
No, he's like 30.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Wow. He plays like he's so much older.
I know, he's not that old. He's not that old. Maybe 31.
31 June.
Yeah.
So he'll be 32 this summer. Wow, that's interesting. But Koulibaly, I thought he was awful for that goal yesterday, which was the one that kind of went over his head and who was it? Just popped it over the keeper.
Watkins. Well, that was Cucurella with the mistake.
Oh, it was Cucurella, sorry. But anyway, look, I think Koulibaly, I think they'll look to upgrade him at some point in the near future anyway. And I think if you've got a Laporte ready to go, who's got quite a few years on Koulibaly, then I think you pull that trigger, especially the amount of money that Chelsea have. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we've brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
Come on, you Spurs.